right, guys, it's 4:05, so we're gonna get started with the interview. Uh, so first off, thank you guys so much for making it to Dyno Tech's very first workshop about interviews with Kayla and Nancy. You can see them in the participants. They have the cute little green screen background, so you guys can recognize them. And yeah, let's get started. So before we jump straight into the workshop, I'm going to give a quick introduction about Dyno Tech. So Dyno Tech is an all-inclusive student-led organization that's mainly focusing on combining technology with other emerging industries such as art, medicine, sports, all of those in between. And we're providing workshops, newsletters, and hackathons, such as this one. And for 2021, we're planning on organizing an online hackathon that's going to mainly revolve around design. So keep your eyes peeled for that. Now I'm going to have our speakers introduce themselves. So Kayla and Nancy, take it away.
Hi guys, my name is Kelot. I'm actually a recent graduate from the University of California, Riverside with a bachelor's degree of economics. I currently have a full-time job as a program analyst for the California government. And then as two side jobs, I'm currently the HR manager for Project Snapshot, as well as the HR director for a consulting firm.
Hi everyone, my name is Nancy. I am entering my fourth year at the University of California, Irvine, and I actually don't start school till next week, so I'm still in my summer right now. I'm studying business economics and picked up a double major in psychology, social behavior, and then the reason I'm on this panel is just because I really like interviews. I think they're really fun and they can be not so scary if you think about them the right way. And I've led interviews for youth initiatives, college mentoring programs, and most recently, Project Snapshot's Ambassador Program that just finished up.
Thank you, guys. We're also going to give you guys their contact information at the end. So if you want to speak to one of these amazing speakers personally, we'll be sure to give you that opportunity. Now, I'm going to pass it off to Rodrigo, our Director of Operations. He's going to give you guys a brief summary and information about interviews, such as what they are, why they're important, and the different types of interviews. So Rodrigo, take it away.
Yeah, thank you, Lucy. Hello, everyone. My name is Rodrigo, and I will be giving you guys a presentation about what are interviews, different type of interviews, and questions them, like different type of questions they might ask you. So traditionally, the interviews are structured one-on-one, meaning that there's one interviewing a candidate, and interviews are used to evaluate how qualified an applicant is for the position they're applying for. So they are useful because they need to see how, if you're fit for the position or internship that you're applying for. Yes. On the next slide, I will be talking about several other types of interviews that they might ask you, or they might host. So another type of interviews are panel interviews. So instead of being structured one-on-one, which is one candidate and one interviewer, there are either two or more people of the hiring team interviewing a single candidate. And these people that are interviewing a single candidate might be the hiring manager, they might be like other decision makers of the company or place that you're applying for. And then there also might be a human resources representative, depending on the company, and also the job. So the people who are interviewing, they either get each of them get to ask a question to the candidate, or either they get kind of like get to ask you whatever they want, depending on the position. And it doesn't matter the questions, they can ask you 3 or 4 questions. You just need to be prepared of what kind of questions they will ask you. So another type of interviews are group interviews. So these ones, instead of just being one single candidate being interviewed, there are 2 or more candidates being interviewed. And at the same time, and also for interviewers, they might be 1 or more. So yeah, and the goal for a group interview is just to see how you behave in a team setting. How are you able to put your ideas and to stand out. So they might ask you they might give you a problem for you to solve, and they are seeing the most the answer that stands out, the answer that they think is ideal and that is a good fit for the job or position. So yeah, I kind of looking for a candidate that gives a good proposal and that will make a good fit for the company. Yeah, and also due to the pandemic and COVID-19, there are many companies or that are offering internships that are doing interviews online, by phone, by video, or any of these online platforms. Yeah. So next, I will be talking about the different type of interview questions. So yeah. So to start off, there are three interview questions. The first type is general interview questions. So these questions ask the candidate about general information about their life, like experience and reason that they are applying to that specific job. So they might ask you about your resume, experiences that you have in the past that will help you on your future position. And as you see in the right, these are kind of examples that they might ask you, like, why are you interested in this internship or position? What are your strengths and weaknesses? Why do you choose your major? And what accomplishments are you most proud of? So kind of just getting an insight, but it's mostly about what experiences have you had that makes you a strong candidate, a good fit, and a good fit for this company. So yeah, another type of interview questions are technical interview questions. So these questions vary from the first one because instead of asking you about your past experiences, they ask you about specific knowledge or skills that you need to have. That is a requirement for the position. So let's say that you are want to be a game developer. You need to know a certain programming language. You cannot just go without like any information because it is required for you to know specific knowledge or technical knowledge. They also might ask you to solve a problem instead of just maybe about a programming language. They might just ask you to solve a mathematical problem that it's a requirement because you might have to do calculations in your job. So it's just kind of like general, and it all varies depending on your job or position that you are applying for. And the last type of interview questions are behavioral interview questions. So instead of just getting to know like past experiences or technical knowledge, this kind of gets a really deep on the personality of the candidate. Gets to see, the interviewer gets to see how do you act in certain situations, how are you able to make decisions that impacted your learning in that job that will make you successful in your future position. So some type of questions that they might ask you are, when was the time that you showed leadership, or when was the time that you had to make a difficult decision? And as you see, these are looking for how you behave in a certain situation. And also the key point that they want you to answer is, how do you solve that? How do you overcome it? Like, how were you able to advance and become a better person, a better worker at your internship or class experience? So yeah, I hope that helped you guys kind of like understand the different type of interviews and just overall information about what type of interviews there are. So next, I will pass it down to Lucy so the speakers can answer some questions and they kind of also have model time. So yeah, take it away, Lucy.
Thank you, Rodrigo. So now we're going to pass it off to Kelot and Nancy. So for every question, I'm going to ask them and they're going to respond. And at the very end, the audience, you guys can ask questions of your own. So question 1, how do you prepare for interviews?
So how do I prepare for interviews? I think in simple terms, there's really one word: research. Research. It could be research can range from different types of research, such as research the interview questions, research the interviewer, research the company itself, research the mission, or like the mission goal, or what's their goal in the future. So I think how do I do a ton of research just before the interview, and then that's how you really be prepared for interview. because when you do an interview, you do not want to come empty-handed. So there's going to be tons of candidates that probably did research the same research as you, but if you didn't do any research, the interviewers can easily pick out the ones that who to eliminate and who will move on to the next round of interviews. After I do research, I usually do I have a whole document. I use Glassdoor a lot. So let's say, for example, if I'm interviewing for Google, right, for a technical role, let's say I say more of a development intern role. I will search it up on Glassdoor, interview questions, and then I just copy and paste them into a document. And then when I have time, I just answer them as much as I could. That's how really I prepare for interviews.
Yeah, my answer is really similar to Kelot's, and I just had an interview this morning. So at the end, feel free to ask me any questions about it because it's like very fresh on my mind. I just finished a task after the interview before hopping on this call. So the way I prepared for that interview is the first thing I did is I looked at the job description for what I applied for and made sure to pick out the key tasks. What will I be doing as an intern at this company? What will my responsibilities be? What will I be required to know? So then working from there, I looked at what I do know and what I don't know as well. So for what I do know, I would pick out experiences that show that I know that skill really well. So let's say like team management, I would talk about the ambassador program at Project Snapshot because that's a really good experience, which I can really talk about and show how I personally showcase that skill. And then for the skills I don't know as well, let's say like a new software, I can go on Google and just do like a quick YouTube search, like how to use so-and-so, basics of something, just so that when the recruiter or the interviewer talks about it, I can say like, oh yeah, like I noticed this, but I also really want to learn this part of the program. So it's not just like, oh, I don't know it. It's like, I don't know it, but I want to learn and show that passion. And I think that really does go a long way, as well as researching about the recruiter or the interviewer, whoever is interviewing you. And I like to like know where they went to school, know what they majored in, because a lot of times like that might not match up to what their position is now, and asking them about that because people love to talk about themselves. And it's just really nice to hear different stories as well, especially for all of you that are still in high school. And if you don't know what you want to do, it's nice to reach out to like older people or like professionals and see how they got there, even if that's not what they were thinking of planning during college or like it changed along the way, just to learn about their journey. I think it's really impactful.
Yeah, thank you so much. Obviously, researching about the position and the organization that you're hoping to work for is key. So that was really insightful. And now on to the second question. What is a common technique that can be used when answering questions?
Do you want to go next or I'll go? I'll go. So there is many common techniques, but I really feel that this is really, really important. Be clear and concise with your answers, because let's say again, going back to the Google interview. Google interviewers, they do it. That's their job, right? That's their career. They do this for a living, right? So they can, like, if you ramble throughout your interview, they can easily like just eliminate you because one, you're not really answering the question. Two, you're just rambling, blah 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 blah. So it's really confusing. So one, yeah, really be clear and concise with your answers. And then also during the interview, be engaged. Make sure it's not one-sided conversation. I'm not sure if you guys heard that, but like make sure it's not just interviewer asking interviewee question. Make sure you're also asking them questions about their like their history, like how did they get into this company, like what's their story, how did you get into like a career in recruitment, stuff like that.
I think everything Kelot said is really great, but for me personally, what I tried to do is I start with an experience to answer the question. So let's say like, oh, they asked like, when was the time that you really faced like a challenge? So I would think of a challenge and use that experience to like start the conversation. And then I take that challenge and relate it to a lesson I learned. So that's like showing development as a person and something that I can contribute to the company, and then relate that to the company. So like if you learn about the company's values from your research, just say like they really value diversity, and you can relate your experience to a lesson about diversity and how you can contribute to their company and really help them grow. So that's a good technique to use to make sure that you're covering all of your bases. It's not just like, oh, I talked about this really great opportunity I have, but how did you grow from it? Or like, what did you specifically do in the opportunity? As well as how can you help this company grow? Because as recruiters, they're really looking for people to invest in so that they can, build their company and grow and be really successful. So it's always nice for you to put those puzzle pieces together for them, just so they don't have to guess. And that way you have more control over of what they think of you. So they can't take it a wrong way because you're telling them exactly what you want them to know.
Yes, that sounds like a foolproof technique to use for interviews. So I'll also drop that template in the chat so you guys won't miss out. Third question, what are some of the most common questions that interviews ask?
So the most common one is probably tell me about yourself and why you're interested in this position. Another common one I've heard many times is tell me about a mistake, or tell me about a time you made a mistake and how you fixed it, or tell me about a time about a difficult situation and how did you overcome it. So those two are mainly are behavioral questions, like what Rodrigo said in the beginning. Just to see, like, they want to test you, like, oh, what's your personality? Like, what would you do, like, when this happened or this happens, if you're hired? So for another common question, if you're for technical roles, like, oh, can you solve this problem for me? Oh, can you show me this, like, can you show me the algorithm for this assignments? That's more technical based common questions. And yeah, I guess those are really good common questions.
Yeah, adding on to what Kelot said about the technical questions, they can also be before or after your interview, so they don't always have to be during. For the interview I just had this morning, I had a more technical part after my interview. I got a challenge to source different candidates on LinkedIn and kind of test my sourcing skills to become a recruiter. So that was something that's really interesting and it's something I've never done before. But it's a good chance to practice the skill, even if you haven't done it before. And then if you know it's something they could test you on, like definitely try to practice that before. Ask advice from your friends or like older relatives that have gone through that process before. And then I think another common interview question that's asked that really throws off people is everyone focuses on themselves during interviews and they're like, okay, I know this and I have these values, but people forget to talk about the company. So some interviewers always ask like, what do you know about our company? And let's say like you've never really heard of it, you just applied to it on LinkedIn or like on any job board, you're like, I don't know anything. And that sounds really bad because you're applying to work there. So you should know a lot about their company culture, about their products, whatever service they're providing to the public, and like what the core of their company is. So I've heard that question a lot, like, what do you know about our company? And then also, what made you interested in the role? Just to make sure that you know you're getting what you're getting yourself into, first of all. And then second of all, to really hear your passion for that project. So if you really are passionate about software development, this is your chance to show like, oh yeah, like I really was passionate about this job description and this role because in my experience developing this software with this team, like I ran into a lot of problems, but I was able to overcome them. And I really agree with your mission and your values. So I want to apply myself here and really help this company grow. Things like that would really help you stand out just because it shows what you know the company is about and it shows that you really care and can do well at this company.
Yeah, that was also incredibly insightful. I've also been asked one of those questions before, so if only I had this workshop before so I could prepare for that better. Now, question 4. How can you stand out from the other candidates, especially for online interviews?
Well, first of all, you should definitely make sure you look the part. Looking the part means obviously like dressed up nicely, not like in t-shirts and shorts during an interview. Treat it like a real interview. Obviously, if COVID didn't happen, you guys will be this interview will be in person. So you gotta always treat it like it's in person. And obviously you have to do your research in the company, about the company and about the interviewer and all that fun stuff, and always be authentic. You always be authentic. You don't want to like pretend who you are. That's really about what interviewers really want to look at, your authenticity and your passion, right? So interviewers, like one of the red flags is honesty. So if they catch you, you're not honest, then you're automatically eliminated. So you want to be authentic and be yourself.
I think another way you can stand out during online interviews is just be engaged. I know it's really hard through a screen, and if you have like a Dell XPS, it like your camera's on the bottom, so it looks like you're not looking, but you are. And I've seen a lot of people have that problem, and maybe just explain to the interviewer like, oh, I know it knows like it looks like I'm not looking, but my laptop screen is on the bottom, so I'm really engaged, and just let them know like anything that might be distracting you. I think another way you can really stand out is to know about the recruiter or the interviewer, because a lot of people do their research on the company or like on the position, but they forget that there's another person on the other side interviewing them, and they have their own story, they have their own journey, and that's something that's incredibly important too, just because at the end of the day is that recruiter or that hiring manager that is the one to hire you or move you on to the next stage. So making that connection is really important, and even if you don't get that position, it might be something that they can remember you in the future and look at you for other positions and reach out to you, and that can also be incredibly meaningful.
Yeah, definitely. I agree that dressing up for
Yeah.
especially an online interview too, that's pretty important. And making a connection with the interviewer is also key to your success. So thank you. Also incredibly insightful. Now our last prepared question number 5. What is the trickiest interview question you have ever been asked? I like this question.
Wow, that's very tough. I think there's one question that is probably the top of my list. So I was interviewing for Enterprise Holdings about 2 years ago, and they asked, this is the question, tell me about a time where you had to sell a product that you weren't too confident about. First of all, I've never sold anything in my life, so I had no idea how to answer that question. So it was through a phone interview. So it was on a phone call. So I was just like I was just thinking so hard how to answer it. So I asked the interviewer, oh, can you give me a few minutes? So she gave me a few minutes, and I still could not have like come up with answers because I have never sold anything in my life. So at the end, I did tell the interviewer, I was like, so blah, 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 I have never sold anything. But if I were to this problem or come across a product that I wasn't too confident in, I would blah, 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 do this and that. So it shows like, so after, at the end result, I did not move on to the next round of interviews, but at least I told her that I'm being honest instead of making something up. Right? So that's probably one of my trickiest interview question that I've been asked.
I think the trickiest interview question I've ever been asked is the ones you can't prepare for. Like those weird questions at the end, they just ask to get your thought process or just learn more about your personality, and you can't really prepare for it because you don't know what they're going to ask. My specific question is, if you were a fruit, what fruit would you be and why? And this was when I was interviewing to be a research assistant for a lab on campus. And I was like, fruit, like I know fruits, but like I'm not a fruit, I'm a person, you know? But I just thought about like what came to mind first. And for me, it was a jujube. And for those of you who don't know, it's like a Chinese like apple or plum that my family grows. I'm actually looking at them right now. And the reason I came up with was because Vietnamese people and Chinese people eat them differently. Vietnamese people eat them as like apples, like they're still hard and crunchy, but Chinese people tend to dry them up and eat them as like prunes or plums and like medicine and soups. So I was telling them that, you know, like, jujubes aren't everyone's cup of tea, but everyone appreciates them in different ways, and they're good at all stages. So, you know, it's really up to whoever they work with, and they can always be adaptable to whatever situation they're in. And I was like mind blown by when it came up with that answer, but it's just like trust your gut, know what you're doing, and always try to answer the question fully.
Yeah, I hate those questions where they ask you a random question out of the blue and then you struggle to answer it. So, Nancy, I think this is really interesting to me, and I think you already touched on it in your response. But for both of you, what is the best way to respond to questions you don't know? Like, how do you make up responses on the spot?
I think for me, when I have interviews, when I get interviewed, I have a notebook right next to me. So let's say if they throw like that question, like the fruit question, what's the question? And then if I were fruit, what would I be? So when I hear it, right, and then I can't like comprehend it, so I would probably write it down in my own words. So I was like, what fruit will I be? So I'll probably write something like that, right? And then I would just like take down notes of like fruits, like bananas, apples, blah, blah, stuff like that. And then see which one that is really similar to like what my like personality, um, what I'm passionate about. Let's say like I'm banana. Let's say I choose a banana. I'm a banana because I'm soft in the
Lemon
inside,
pop.
but like I don't know. I'm just making it up right now. So like bananas are soft, right? So I'll just say I'm soft. I'm a soft person, but yeah, like I know I went on a tangent, but yeah, I have like a notebook. So I would just take down like the question in my own words, and then I try to answer it.
That's a really good approach. Approach I personally use is I always relate it back to my values because it tells them more about who I am as a person. So if it's not a technical question, that's a good route to go because you kind of know your values without having to think about it. Like, like if you're passionate about diversity, if you're passionate about like first gen initiatives, if you're passionate about tech opportunities for women, anything like that, try to relate it to whatever question they ask, just as a way to like buffer it before you get to like the real question. Um, and I do also have a notebook or like a Notion page pulled up whenever I have interviews as well with all the notes I prepared before, just to see like what I could relate to that question, even if it's not exactly what I planned. Like, let's say maybe they ask about what new initiatives I would plan to have as part of this role. Maybe I didn't prepare for that, but maybe I really like that they have a program already to move interns to full time. So maybe that's something that I want to build on and just take that and run with it.
Yeah, on another thought, just always just do your best. I know during interviews, even for me, I get nervous, but as you do more and more interviews, it'll get better, but it definitely takes time. But just do your best because like no matter what the end result, or if you get the job, yeah, great. But if you don't, like it's not the end of the world because there's like I don't know, it's like a few million, 100 million jobs out there. So just move on, and as long as you did like do your best, you'll be all right.
Yeah, of course. I'll make sure to apply your insights to uh, any scary questions in the future. And I also couldn't stop laughing at your banana example. I'm still not over that.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
So,
Oh, Pink, why did you kill me? I was literally,
I ate a banana
I was
like
the best person.
yeah. I ate a banana like 2 hours ago, so that was the first thing I thought of.
oh, it's getting a little hard to calm down, but I can adapt. So next we have a model time. So this is a little more unconventional, but we all agree that this was pretty useful for you guys. So Kayla and Nancy, they will be acting as if they are in an interview right now. So they're the interviewees and we are the interviewer. So you can ask them any questions, you can unmute yourself or drop it in the chat. And as they answer your questions, you can note how they integrated all of their insights and techniques that they mentioned before. So Rodrigo, do you want to start it off for us?
Yeah. So I'm gonna start like slow, like one of the questions that you guys thought that is really common. So when was the time that you showed leadership? And mainly, you guys would like answer this on your own experience, right? So kind of like, you know.
Oh, can you hear me? Good. Yeah, I can answer that one first. So within my role as an orientation coordinator, I showed leadership during one of our events during orientation week. it was karaoke night, and at last minute we didn't have an MC. So we were scrambling on like, what do we do? What do we do? So my supervisor asked if any of us wanted to be a MC. No one wanted to be a volunteer, so I decided to step up for the challenge. I never had prior experience as an MC, so I just used all my knowledge with watching YouTube videos or just watching concerts, and try to integrate it into my into this challenge that I'm going to be facing. So during the event, the audience was engaged and sang along because because I integrated all the experience I learned just from watching YouTube and concerts. They were feeding off my energy, and the event was amazing. I showed leadership when no one else did, because I had the opportunity to stand in front of hundreds of students to lead a show. Yeah, and additionally, this opportunity has allowed me to develop my presentation and communication skills.
So the way I would answer it is something along the lines of, as a Project Snapshot internal team member, an idea was pitched to start an ambassador program to really show all of our skills and all of our programs to a more broad audience, just because we have so much to offer, but not a lot of people knew about them. So ambassador programs seemed like the perfect way to do that, but no one was willing to take it on, just because all of us already had a lot of other opportunities and a lot of other responsibilities for the team. As a member of two teams, HR and a part of research and development, I felt both of those teams were sufficient enough without me so that I could take on this opportunity. And without any prior experience as an ambassador or coordinating any really programs, I built this program from the ground up. I developed an 8-week program and had meetings week to week. I laid out an orientation guidebook exactly of what they would be expecting, developed a leaderboard system to give them points and really create like a competitive system for the ambassadors to really share their experiences with others and promote Project Snapshot. And in this way, I developed my leadership skills because I dived into something I never knew how to do before and asked questions and figured it out along the way, and was able to lead a team of 20 ambassadors to really increase Project Snapshots, reach over 57% while expanding for new programs and creating a really inclusive family environment among the ambassadors.
Uh, yeah, and like Melody already prepared. So you guys don't have to unmute yourselves to ask them a question. You can always drop it in the chat if you feel a little uncomfortable.
So I can take Melody's next question. What makes you stand out from other candidates? So this really depends on what role you're applying for. So make sure to include like specific parts of that role. But since we have no role, I'll just like do a general answer. So something that makes me stand out from other candidates is I have never really known exactly what I wanted to do until now. All through junior high, high school, elementary school, all those times whenever we had to write journals about what do you want to do when you grow up? Like I never knew because I was never honest with myself about what my skills were. And I was always so afraid to make the wrong decision or make the wrong answer and really like set myself off on a wrong path. But it wasn't until I really sat down and I decided to give that time to myself over the pandemic. I just decided to find out what my passions are and what my skills are. And I really found that my passions and my skills lie in people and working with people, developing people, creating these communities so everyone can thrive and become their best person. So I think that's something that makes me stand out and helps me realize that my passion is really towards HR and recruiting so that I can help develop those successful teams and I can help people grow into their best selves.
I can take Brianna's next question, and her question is, what is an experience you had that shaped you into who you are today? That's a really good question, by the way. So this is gonna be a little weird, but I would say COVID. So yeah, it's a little weird, not a job or like a internship or anything. I would say COVID. Before COVID, before, let's say before March, that's when really COVID hit. Let's say before March, I was really shy. I didn't know what I was gonna do after like graduation. So in March, obviously I graduated in June, so I had no idea what I was gonna do at post graduation. And then when COVID hit, like it made me, well, obviously I moved back to my parents, but it made me really sit down and think about like what am I gonna do? Like I'm graduating. I don't really have anything lined up because the opportunities that I applied for or were either like a hiring hold, or they were letting go of employees. So I had I had no idea what to do. So so I really sat down and really think about like what do I really enjoy doing. So one thing I really enjoy doing is talking to people one-on-ones. So so from March up until now, I had like I have like a whole list of one-on-ones. It varies from like mid-careers, about some from different roles. It varies from also from students, just like high school students. I had one-on-one with Nancy before. If from Project Snapshot, I probably had like a lot of one-on-ones with them. But yeah, that's just a lot of one-on-ones and just really getting down and knowing their story. And every time I talk with somebody, I get really inspired by their story. So I try to like, I wouldn't say I copy that, but I try to really think about like what did they do to be who they are today. So ultimately that like I'm like for like throughout this like experience in COVID and quarantine, like I really improved my communication skills. Um, and then like one-on-ones really really landed me in my job as a program analyst. I was like Project Snapshot I put would not have happened without one-on-ones. um, Another role for the other HR director role probably would not have happened. So yeah, I think really like the one-on-ones really helped me and then build my confidence, build many skills. So yeah.
And I think that for many people, it's really scary for to decide a major or what you want to do in the future without having a certain path. Like if you don't know what you're gonna do at this certain point in life, then I don't know. Maybe some people might think something about you, or maybe you're unprepared. But you can always change your path. Your path might change in many different ways. Maybe not drastically, but it will. It would somewhat change of what you had planned in the past. So I feel like just hearing you guys experience how going from being indecisive and not knowing what you wanted to do to caring for other people or really like working with others really is something inspiring and kind of like helping other people decide what they want to do, or maybe that it's okay if you don't know, if you don't have things planned out right now, but just looking at what you like, that will help you decide in the future.
Yeah. Well, going off what Rodrigo said, um, first of all, you guys are still really young, so there's gonna be many twists, many turns. Just go out there and experience everything. Try to experience everything, and then you guys can decide. Like once, like let's say, once you really do experience everything, right? You guys will be able to figure out what you guys will like. What would you like to do, like in the future? Like what do you guys enjoy doing? So if you don't go out to experience, you never know, right? So always try new things, experience new, actually let's say create new memories. Let's say that.
I like what Kelot said. I have a like warning, a disclaimer, because I did that and then I burnt out so fast. So experience as much as you can, but don't feel like you have to experience everything. Just because you're, I hate to say it, but we're all not going to be good at everything. I'm definitely not going to be good at coding just because that's not who I am as a person. That's not where my skill sets lie. So please do not stress yourself out trying to learn everything, because then you're going to end up really sad and like overwhelmed and have even a less idea of what you want to do. It's good to try things and see what you like and you don't. And even if you don't like it, it's still a good thing because you're putting yourself towards a different path. Like you're cutting off that path for yourself and saying like, oh no, I can't do software engineering. So let me try something else that maybe fits my skill set better. And then also like Kelly said, y'all are so young still, like don't worry about it. People in college still don't have it figured out. I can guarantee you like 95% of people are just pretending to have it figured out and they don't really know. So like don't let everyone's like like their facade trick you, okay? Like everyone has a mask on. I can guarantee you that if you really ask them like deep enough and you know them well, everyone I feel like is in the same path, or they kind of know what they want to do, but they haven't experienced it enough to know if this is something they really want to pursue or not until they do it. So don't worry, people change their majors all the time. What you major in doesn't determine what you work in. A lot of people change their paths post grad. So I feel like this is something I wish someone told me as high school students. So y'all already are like above everyone else because I didn't hear about this until like third year in college.
Yeah, I agree what Nancy said about changing majors. I actually even changed my major in college, right? So um, I I graduated, yeah, I graduated high school, and then I chose biology as a major because one, I really love med show, so I really wanted to learn a little bit more about medicine. But then, like when I took my first biology class, I was just like, Jesus, this is really really hard. So I ultimately did not pass the class, but like and then I switched my major to economics, and then I really enjoyed what like economics, like macroeconomics, like U.S. economics, stuff like that. So it's like when you guys choose a major, many people change their majors. Like I would say at least 50% changes their major, like probably the first or second year in college. So yeah, just keep on experiencing, and you guys will find what you're passionate about.
All three of you are so inspirational. You guys can be like TED speakers in the future or something. Um, yeah, the thing about changing majors too, that's I've never really thought of that. It was really scary. So thanks about talking. Thanks for talking about that. And sorry, one more question for the model time.
Go ahead, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So I think Rodrigo knows this question because when Melody and I we were choosing who to accept for directors, we asked him this question. So what is your greatest strength and what is your greatest weakness? Weakness.
So I can start off with this question. I think one of my greatest strengths is my organization because I like everything to be set out before I start any task just because I don't want to run into too many roadblocks or have things not planned along the way. But I'm also really open to changing my plans as things come and adapting to the challenges that arise just because I know from experiences that life isn't always what you plan. But I know it's better to go out with a plan just so that you're not treading water and swimming and trying to figure it out as is. My cousin's here. I'm so sorry, but it is. So when I think about one of my greatest weaknesses is speaking really, really fast. I've been trying to speak really slow during this webinar, and I'm working on it. But in my family, we speak really fast just because we're always together and we talk really, really fast. So if you don't talk fast, you don't get a word in. And this is something I'm trying to work on just because I know clear communication is really important in the workforce, regardless of what field you go into. So this is something that I'm constantly working on and developing through one-on-ones with other people and hosting webinars like this one.
Yeah, so my greatest strength is my ability to communicate with others, which leads me to get along with everyone, or I'll try to get along with everybody. I love building connections because I want to know their stories and really learn from them. So my effective communications um, have led have led me to various roles. With, within my role as a vice chair for a student committee and for my college, I was put in nerve-wracking situations that would improve my communication skills. So my committee hosted various workshops and events for the entire student body. During most events, I would effectively communicate with my team, professionals to ensure each event was run smoothly. I was put in the spot for many occasions. As a result, I improved my external and internal communication throughout my role. So my greatest weakness. So I still slightly struggle with my confidence in my work. There's always this feeling inside of me, whether or not if I'm doing it, whether or not if my work is right or not. If I'm not confident with my work, I'm afraid that it will lead me to failure and potentially be making more mistakes. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for answering all of these questions at once. So we're gonna wrap up model time for now, and we're gonna move on to any more general questions the audience may have. So like we promised before, our speakers' contact information is below. So if you wanna ask them privately, feel free to do so. And yeah, just feel free to ask them any questions right now, and you can either unmute yourself or type them in the chat.
Any questions about life, college, anything? We're more than happy to help you. This is the chance. This is the chance right here.
Okay, this is like a broad question, but how hard was college on a scale of 1 to 10?
Oh, that's a really good question. College. Well, like you saying the workload or test or
General, like workload plus,
wow.
relationship, meeting new people, kind of like everything.
There are times where you're gonna have an easy class. Well, there's times you're gonna have easy classes, and there's gonna be times where you're gonna have classes you don't enjoy, which is or pretty difficult. But I would say it will probably be like a 7 or 8, depending. Well, actually, really every major is pretty difficult, but you just really have to work for it. So college really makes you work for it, because there's this thing for all the UCs, like if you get below like a 2.0, is that right, Nancy? Like a 2.0, you'll be in like academic probation or something like that. So yeah, so I think you get below some type of like, I think 2.0 in college, you'll probably be in probation. And then if you do it again, you'll probably be like kicked out of the school. So you don't want to do that. But I never got below 2.0. But honestly, like college really makes you work for it. You have a lot of freedom though, like to study and like do homework or assignments, but it's gonna make you, they're gonna make you work for it.
Yeah, I think around the same. I think I would rank college like a 7 or 8, depending on like how prepared you were during high school. And this is up to how well your high school prepares you too. Like a lot of times, like you put in all the work you can, but you just don't have the resources, and that's not really your fault. To seek out those resources to help you succeed in college. I think college is hard because in high school, I know a lot of y'all are like, oh, I never study and I pass all the tests, or I never read and I pass all the tests. So you're like, I don't need to study. And I know because I was you, and I have students that are like you, and they're just like, oh, like I don't need to study. In high school, I never studied, and I got like a 4.0. College is so different because you really need to put in the work on your own and read the sections and practice questions and really apply the concepts to do well in college, just because you're now, instead of like a big fish in a small pool, you're a small fish in a big pool. So basically what that is like you thought you were like top of your class in high school and you're really smart, but once you get dropped into like a UC or like a really prestigious university with a lot of other really intelligent students, you can start to feel not so smart just because everyone else is just as smart or smarter than you. So you really have to put in that work to succeed.
Yeah, like in high school, like honestly, I didn't really study, but in college, man, man, during finals week or midterm week or any type of like exam, you see the library packed. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. There's a huge gap between high school and college. I can already tell that already with distance learning. And our next question from Brianna: what are the best and worst parts of college? Ooh.
I can start. So I think the best part of college is the connections you make, not just like professional connections, but also with your friends. And a lot of these people will be like your lifelong friends, because unlike high school, you meet people in college and you really have to strive to make that connection with them and really work to keep that relationship going, because you're not going to see them every day at lunch. You're not going to have classes with them every day. So it's not like you're making friends based off convenience. It's actually pretty hard to keep relationships in college if you want to maintain them. And even though it's hard, I feel like it's one of the most worthwhile parts of college, because you're going through things that you'll never go through with other people, and you have those experiences to always share and grow with each other, because college is really 4 formative years of your life where you change and grow a lot. So that's definitely the best part. I think the worst part is all the expectations that you and others have on yourself. So going to college, everyone, especially coming from like a first generation family, my parents always say like, "Oh yeah, next year when Nancy's graduated and has a full-time job, is making like 6 figures," and I was like, "Mom, I might not have a job. I might not make 6 figures," just because nothing is guaranteed. But that's something that is really stressful for me, and I think the worst part of college is because you're working really hard, but it never seems like it's enough. And that goes into like a whole nother topic of imposter syndrome, which can be like a whole nother workshop. Let me know if y'all want me to speak on that. But I think that's the worst part of college, just like expectations and what people are looking for from you.
Yeah, going off what Nancy said, I truly believe connections, like the best part of college are getting those connections, because you never know. Let's say 20, 30 years down the line, they could be like a CEO of Visa or something like that. And and then you are just like, oh, I don't know, working somewhere else, right? If you made that connection in college, I don't know, you maybe be working at Visa, right? So yeah, but another thing, like they could be like working at like a really nice prestigious company, and they can be like refer you. They can actually get you in that door during the interview. So you really want to make those connections. But on the fun side, the best part of colleges is getting those free stuff. So right, Nancy, I don't know about you, but we have a lot of free stuff. Like we have free In and Out, we got free tacos. We were raffling a free AirPods one time. We were giving out free hoodies. Um, there's always free stuff. Like if you go to like a college basketball game, you get like it's not guaranteed obviously, but you get like most times you get a free shirt that says like your college, which is, isn't that awesome? That's pretty awesome. Obviously free food, like you can't complain about free food. Like I can't complain about free food, but yeah, just make the most out of your free stuff. Like you get a lot of free stuff in college, like free printing. We have free laptops, like MacBook Pros, really cool. So yeah, just make make the most out of the free stuff that your college offers. But the worst part about college is probably getting a bad grade on exam. I've gotten honesty again. I've gotten many bad grades on exam, but honestly, you just like make it as like a wake up call, and you just be like, oh, I'll do better next time. Because most of these not like most, like some of these professors, they won't really, like some curve, some don't. Some will like say like, oh, just do better next time. So honestly, I just take it as a wake up warning and say like just do better on the final or do better on the next exam.
Yeah, definitely. Already in high school, when we get like those exams coming, it's already really stressful. So, huge respect for you guys for surviving college. And yeah, next question from Yale. What is the general application process for a college internship?
Like,
Can I take this?
oh yeah, go ahead, Nancy, go ahead.
Okay, something no one ever told me, and I didn't figure out until like now, which is a little bit too late. And I'm telling y'all now, so you know, is big companies like Amazon, Microsoft, Google, all of them. Can you still hear me? Okay, so big companies like that, they all recruit for their summer internships during the fall, like almost a full year before. So I was always like, oh, how do people get all these internships during the summer? When I was looking during spring, there was like really nothing offered, or it's always like the smaller companies that offer it. It's because they applied during the fall, and no one ever told me that. So I'm telling y'all now, um, during your first year of college or your second year, whenever you want to work or intern during that summer, look during that fall. So you're planning a long time ahead, just because there are a lot of processes before getting that internship. You go to like 3 or 4 rounds of interviews, you have like different applications, you never are guaranteed anything. So like sometimes you can apply and they don't even get back to you because they have so many applications. So definitely plan like way ahead. And that's something I wish I knew before, because now I'm applying more for full-time roles and I am not looking at those internships, but now I'm seeing so many open because it's fall right now. So now y'all know, keep that
Yeah,
in mind.
yeah. And then one of the reasons why is 10 of them are open now is because like just this past summer, most of these companies did not have internships. So they're gonna push it back to next year, which is 2021, 2021 of summer, right? So that's why a lot of them are open. But general application process, I think like I think referrals, like definitely try to get referrals, which ties back to connections, right? So definitely try to make those really good and valuable connections, because you never know, that person can like refer you to Google or Amazon and they can literally get you in front. And then like usually internships has like thousands and actually several hundreds to maybe even 1,000 applicants, right? And then what if that person, like you made that connection to somebody that worked at Amazon and then they referred you to this position, referred you to this internship, and then you already like basically cut the line into like to the interview process.
Yeah, that was also really insightful. And I'll make sure when I'm in college to apply in the fall. That was really good advice. Thank you, Nancy. And this is actually my own question. So, Kayla, I know you talked about this. It was changing majors during college. So, can you tell me more about the process behind that?
Wow, that was like 4 years ago. But let me see. Honestly, like how I changed from biology to economics is really like there was like I think it was like an information session about like economics. Oh no, not CHAS majors only. So it was like College of Humanity, Arts and Social Sciences, and there was economics in it because it was part of the program. So I saw economics, and then like one of the advisors gave a presentation about it. Got really inspired, talked to the advisor about it, and then they said like, oh, you should change it to economics. And I immediately changed it to economics. That was actually my first year, not even my first class in college. That was like the summer of that was during orientation. So that was basically the summer of my first quarter in college. So I already knew like right away, like I wanted to change to economics. But ultimately I did make the right choice because I love economics. But like the process wise is really simple. Honestly, I think you just fill out a form, let your academic advisors, which is basically your counselors in high school, let them review it, and then they approve it, and you're good to go. It was a really simple process.
Yeah, I think the process itself is really simple, but choosing what major you want to switch to is really difficult just because again, like all that pressure. And I think the best way to do it is to take classes on like one or two classes that you're interested in for that second major. So like Kelot's example would be like economics. And for me, it was like deciding to take on a double major in psych. So taking one or two classes and seeing how that worked for me and if I like the concepts. Because if you take those classes and they're not like wasted classes in any way, and you'll learn more about this when you go to college because those classes can be applied towards your elective credits that you need to graduate anyways. So if you don't like it, it's not a waste. And then you also have general education requirements, so they can also be applied to those depending on what class you take. So never be afraid to explore and to see what's out there because you never know like something that might really click with you.
Yeah, going off what Nancy said, like experience, right? You never know unless you experience it, right? That also applies for a class. Let's say you take a sociology class. I don't really like sociology. Then you won't take any more sociology classes, right? Let's say biology or chemistry. Damn, I really did bad on that class. Okay, I will not take it in the future, right? So that's how you know you can start, once you experience it, you can start eliminating it. So yeah.
And I think it's also really important to separate the class, like the subject from the professor, because some professors are really great, but the topic is something that you're not interested in. So make sure to know the difference between the two because some topics are really great. Like Kelot loves economics, but what if his first professor was like a really sucky professor and he
Right.
never like took the major on because he's like, I hate that professor. Make sure to separate the two because they're very distinct things.
Yeah, and in college, there's hundreds of classes, like hundreds, not even just maybe even several hundreds. So it's gonna be hard to narrow it down, but like at least you experience it and like gone through a class that you potentially might see yourself in like a career in like 20 years. Then you can go move on and like take more upper division class, but definitely try to experience it first.
Yeah, it's really reassuring to know that switching majors is really easy, and like either way, you're gonna get something out of the classes. So thank you guys. And next, our next question. Ooh, this was actually a question from the sign-up form. So, what is the best way to discuss salary during the interview?
Personally, I don't ask it, but usually like usually during the interview they will say like, oh, the entire logistics and like the summary of the position, how much is the salary, what you'll be doing, stuff like that. But usually I don't ask it because it's a little rude to ask about the salary. What do you think, Nancy? What do you think? I actually don't ask them about it.
This is something that I still struggle with just because I'm not sure like when the best time to ask is. And I've been asking a lot of people that I have one-on-one with like what their approach is. And a lot of people have told me they wait until after they're offered the position. So like you already have it locked and loaded. You don't have to worry about losing it. And then asking people that had that position before them, or maybe looking at people who in industry who have the same position, the same title, what their starting salary is, and then averaging those, and then adding a couple thousand just as like to account for like cost of living, inflation, all of that, because as y'all know, living in California is very expensive. So like you ask someone in like Idaho, it's going to be very different what their starting salary is than California. So definitely try to ask people in California, especially around your region. But I definitely would wait until after you've like locked in the position to negotiate salary, because you don't want to risk losing that job just because you're like a little greedy for salary. But don't undersell yourself. So look for averages online. So like average salary of a recruiter coordinator, average salary of HR professional, like something like that. Lucy, do we have any other questions?
Yeah, sorry for the silence. I'm trying to scroll up. Yeah. Let's see. I don't
think those
see any
are-
more questions in the
yeah.
chat for now. But if anyone has any more questions, like I said in the chat, it's already 5. So you guys can start to head out. Yeah, thank you, Yale. No problem, Alvin. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you
So
everyone for coming in.
Guys.
we'll also be emailing you guys the recording and their contact information. So you won't be missing out if you need to leave right away. Then in that case, if you don't have any more questions, I guess we can end the meeting right now.